It is absolutely Trump's job to stand up to violent political riots, which are a species of terrorism, especially if the mayor won't. Trump said he's ready to send in the National Guard. He appropriately consulted with the governor, a Democrat, I might add. Perhaps his flourish, that rhyme, looting and shooting, is not quite as somber as the censors at Twitter might like, because as you know, Twitter is nothing if not dignified. But there's nothing wrong with the tweet. But Twitter has declared war on Trump. They made it clear they're going to not only limit him and what he says, but they're also going to shame him and rebut him and attack him in the guise of being neutral. Well, Trump has had enough. Yesterday afternoon, he rolled out his executive order on preventing censorship. I'll read some of it to you. Free speech is the bedrock of American democracy. Our founding fathers protected this right with the First Amendment to the Constitution. The freedom to express and debate ideas is the foundation for all of our rights as a free people. That's a good way to start. Those are words Trudeau probably would never say, but Trudeau does say some free speech cliches sometimes. He just doesn't mean them. Here's Trump, and I think he means them. In a country that has long cherished the freedom of expression, we cannot allow a limited number of online platforms to handpick the speech that Americans may access and convey on the internet. This practice is fundamentally un-American and anti-democratic. When large, powerful social media companies censor opinions with which they disagree, they exercise a dangerous power. They cease functioning as passive bulletin boards and ought to be viewed and treated as content creators. That's exactly right. And the reason that's important is because if you're just a bulletin board where anyone can tack up a poster, you're not a publisher. You can't be held liable for the words that other people put on you. But if you actively police and censor and choose what goes on your bulletin board, well, that's what Twitter is doing. Well, here's what. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube wield immense, if not unprecedented power to shape the interpretation of public events, to censor, delete, or disappear information, and to control what people see or do not see. As president, I have made clear my commitment to free and open debate on the internet. Such debate is just as important online as it is in our universities, our town halls, and our homes. It is essential to sustaining our democracy. That's true. It's the town square now. If you're not allowed online, it would be like a generation ago, you not being allowed to go to a physical meeting hall, a town hall, just not allowed. The internet is where we live so much, as the pandemic has shown us in a weird way. Online platforms are engaging in selective censorship that is harming our national discourse. Tens of thousands of Americans have reported, among other troubling behaviors, online platforms flagging content as inappropriate, even though it does not violate any stated terms of service, making unannounced and unexplained changes to company policies that have the effect of disfavoring certain viewpoints, and deleting content in entire accounts with no warning, no rationale, and no recourse. Exactly. When Trudeau censors me, I hate it. But there are some rules, and I have some recourse. It's expensive, it's slow, it's an uphill battle, but there is a process. What do I do if I'm suddenly deleted on YouTube or Twitter? There's no Twitter court. I don't even know who would have done it to me, or why, or who complained, or what I did wrong. Now, there's a lot of interesting commentary in the executive order, but I'm going to skip over it in the interest of time. But here's the key part. And you've heard me talk about this before, about a year ago, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It's what makes social media companies unsuable. Section 2, protections against online censorship. It is the policy of the United States to foster clear ground rules promoting free and open debate on the internet. Prominent among the ground rules governing that debate is the immunity from liability created by Section 230C of the Communications Decency Act. It is the policy of the United States that the scope of that immunity should be clarified. The immunity should not extend beyond its text and purpose to provide protection for those who purport to provide users a forum for free and open speech, but in reality use the power over a vital means of communication to engage in deceptive or pretextual actions, stifling free and open debate by censoring certain viewpoints. So just to be clear, when an internet company allows something to be published, you can't sue them. It's like a phone booth. The phone company doesn't regulate what people say when they talk on the phone in the phone booth, so you can't sue the phone booth or the phone company for what people say through it, right? Same with the internet. Unless the phone company would actually, I don't know, have someone listening in on your calls telling you what you could or couldn't say or telling you to say something else, then it would be an active publisher, a participant, a censor, an editor. Section 230 provides the internet version of that phone booth. It protects them. It also legally protects the internet if they positively do censor things that are awful, like illegal child pornography, just as an example, if it's done in good faith. But it doesn't protect political meddling. It is the policy of the United States to ensure that to the maximum extent permissible under the law, this provision is not distorted to provide liability protection for online platforms that, far from acting in good faith to remove objectionable content, instead engage in deceptive or pretextual actions, often contrary to their stated terms of service, to stifle viewpoints with which they disagree. Section 230 was not intended to allow a handful of companies to grow into titans controlling vital avenues for our national discourse under the guise of promoting open forums for debate, and then to provide those behemoths blanket immunity when they use their power to censor content and silence viewpoints that they dislike. When an interactive computer service provider removes or restricts access to content and its actions do not meet the criteria of subparagraph C2A, it is engaged in editorial conduct. It is the policy of the United States that such a provider should properly lose the limited liability shield of subparagraph C2A and be exposed to liability like any traditional editor and publisher that is not an online provider. Okay, that was a little long, but what's happening now is under this order, the Section 230 immunity, that's basically a huge subsidy to the internet, since it absolutely removes from the internet countless lawsuits, including defamation lawsuits, that bedevil other publishers. So Section 230 will only apply to internet companies going forward if they act in good faith, including that they not engage in the following things. A, deceptive, pretextual, or inconsistent with the provider's terms of service, or B, taken after failing to provide adequate notice, reasoned explanation, or a meaningful opportunity to be heard. So from now on, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, they can't trick you, they can't lie to you, they can't have secret political filters. They can still be immune to litigation like a phone booth is, but only if they are truly neutral and fair like the phone booth is. And I think the most interesting part is a call for a review of internet companies in concert with the states about the following. Increased scrutiny of users based on the other users they choose to follow or their interactions with other users. Algorithms to suppress content or users based on indications of political alignment or viewpoint. Differential policies allowing for otherwise impermissible behavior when committed by accounts associated with the Chinese Communist Party or other anti-democratic associations or governments. Reliance on third-party entities, including contractors, media organizations, and individuals with indicia of bias to review content. And acts that limit the ability of users with particular viewpoints to earn money on the platform compared with other users similarly situated. It's like he's talking directly to me. That's exactly what happens to us, the demonetization, the shadow banning, the de-boosting, as YouTube calls it when they smother your content and downrank it. All of that happens to us. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.